Aloha, everyone, and good evening or good morning, depending on where you're at. Um, I'm super excited because I had made some Oracle cards, or as I like to call them, Clarity cards, and they arrived today. And I just took them out of the box, but I haven't taken them out of the shrink wrap. And so I thought that I would show you a few of the cards, maybe just half, and we can look at them together. So I used a company called printerstudio.com to do this. And I only ordered one deck because it's more of a test for me. I want to see the quality, um, the customer service, the ease of use, all of that before I commit to a bigger order. And I will say that there are several companies out there in the United States that you can do what we call print on demand for a reasonable price, and there is tiered pricing. But I'm going to suggest that if you want to buy in bulk in large amounts, you may want to look at a website like Alibaba.com. There are tons of companies overseas that can produce these for you for pennies on the dollar. So how this came about was I was not connecting with any Oracle cards out there. Um, Either I didn't like the artwork, or I didn't like the message, or they were too cutesy or sweet and too light, and they just didn't resonate with me. So I had it in my mind that I was going to create my own deck from start to finish. I was going to do all of the illustrations, and I still may on a future deck, but I was so excited to see this come to life that I thought there was no way I was going to spend, be able to spend all that time drawing them. So I came up with a bunch of words, and the words were easy. In fact, they're a little too easy. I came up with 130 of them off the top of my head, and I had to scale them back. This is 100 cards, and I think that this is still probably a little too many, and I could probably shave off maybe 10 to 15, but it's okay. I mean, for the first deck, it's fine. You learn as you go. So let me open this real quick, and I am just going to, let me divide this in half because I certainly don't want to make you sit here all day looking at all 100 of them. So first impressions, um, they're a nice quality, and I chose the finish smooth. There was another finish linen, but I had heard another reviewer say that after a few uses they kind of got chipped, and I liked the idea with photos to have a smooth. It's kind of matte. It's not too glossy. Makes it easy to read. Um, and what I did was, since I wasn't doing my own artwork, I used a website called Pixabay.com, and that is basically a website where people go and they upload their quality images for other people to use. And you can give like small donations if you want. And I do suggest, if you're going to download a lot of images, that would be the right thing to do. Basically they have it like buy them a cup of coffee type thing. So when you're choosing images or illustrations, vectors, graphics, what have you on these type of sites, make sure that they are free for commercial use if you think you're going to end up selling them. If you're doing this just for personal use and they're not going to be out in the public, then none of that matters. But do yourself a favor and do the homework now so you don't have a headache later, because some of your images that you choose might have restrictions on them, and you don't want to get yourself into trouble down the line. So I'm going to kind of go through these real quick. Um, for the back of the card, I chose a nebula. I love the colors. I love the feeling that the universe was immense, yet I was a part of it. I felt both large and small, and I thought it made a nice card back. It even kind of reminds me of the chakras in a little bit. Um, so the first card is boundaries. I think sometimes we have a hard time letting others know what our boundaries are, and we allow them to walk all over us. I will say that as I've gotten older, and I'm 48 now, it's been much easier to let people know what my boundaries are, and you can do that with kindness and gentleness, or not, whatever. But I think it's important to have clear boundaries to avoid problems. Ebb and flow. I think everything in life has an ebb and flow to it. Life doesn't always move at 100 miles a minute. Sometimes it moves at 10 miles an hour, and I think that's okay. I think you have to embrace those times. Uh, Delve deeper. That is, let's see, that is this cute little duck butt, and I think it's true that you have to look beyond the superficial and get to the meat of the matter. Protection. Protection is neither a good nor bad thing. It's just a thing. But I think, like all emotions, you need to find balance. If you're too protective, I think you're closing yourself off to having a rich life. And if you have no protection, I think you're inviting trouble. Potential. This is a really great card to me. Right now, it's what will be. We don't know. There's a unknown quality. It's kind of charming and exciting. And whatever the situation is that has potential, it may work, it may not work. We don't know that yet. It's still in the beginning stage. Um, be happy. You're in charge. You have a lot of control on your life, and you don't need to give that power away. It's up to you how you allow others to affect you. I don't know why you would give your power away. You are writing your own autobiography here. And I liked this image because it just kind of seemed like, you had the world in your hands. Gratitude, always an important quality to show appreciation and gratitude. Regroup. Sometimes you have to step back, pull back a bit, take a deep breath, reorganize, evaluate, and regroup, and then move forward. The trick is not to get stuck there. Break free. I love this image. Sometimes you have to break free of whatever. Ask for help. This is one of my challenges. I tend to do everything on my own. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to be a burden to anyone. But what I'm learning is that people need to feel needed, whether it's your friends or your family. It's important to let them help you. And it's not a weakness to ask for help when you need it. It's actually a sign of strength. Forgive. It's important to forgive. I think sometimes we hold on to stuff we don't need to hold on to, and forgiving is, to me, more important for yourself than for others. You need to let that crap go. Plant your seeds. You need to water it. You need to talk to it. You need to give it some food, give it some love, give it attention, and hope for the best. We need to laugh. Comfort zone. I think sometimes we get too stuck in our little comfort zones. It gets really comfortable. It gets a little staid. It gets a little dull. You need to shake things up and get out of your comfort zone to change your perspective and embrace all of those experiences out there waiting for you. Create. I'm never happier than when I'm creating a piece of art, and it's as vital to me as breathing, eating, or drinking, or sleeping. Obstacles. To me, obstacles are more tangible things. They're more external things than internal. And sometimes they're out of your control, but you still have to deal with them. Meditate. Ancestors. I love her hands. I think they're beautiful. I think they possess a lifetime of worry and happiness and sadness and joy and bitterness and anger and every human emotion there is. And I think we can learn a lot from our ancestors. Write your story. I think it's important to write your story. Don't let someone else write it for you. You got one life. Choose your own story. Progress. This is probably one of my favorite cards in this deck. I chose a spiral staircase because depending on where you're at in the process, it's going to be a different experience. How you feel here is different than how you're going to feel way up here at the very top. And I think you need to honor that process and understand that there's really not a competition with anyone else unless you choose to make it that way. you just have to honor the process and the progress that you are making. Breathe. Sometimes we're rushing about so much we just forget to breathe, and it's a nice reminder. Own it. It is, well, it could be anything. It could be the lovable parts of yourself, the not so lovable parts of yourself, the things you want to change, the things that you want to embrace. You have to own it. You have to be responsible for it. You have to acknowledge it. If you want to change it, you can't be in denial about it. Take responsibility. Play. Super important. I think we spend a lot of our lives, especially now, rushing here and there and being very serious and getting very upset, and we forget to play and embrace that joyous nature we all have. Grounded. As you can see, I used a white font, and while I like it for most pictures, this photo, because of the background's a little busy and light in general, it might be a little hard to read, but I like this image. I like being barefoot and connecting to the earth. Receive. Sometimes you have to give yourself permission to receive the good stuff. Do it. You deserve it. Grief. We've all had it. We've all been there. We've all experienced it or will experience it. No one gets out of this life without experiencing grief. I think it's just important to have a good support system around you to help you get through the worst of it. On guard. Sometimes you need to be a little bit on guard, hold back, let things develop, see what people's intentions are. Restricted. I find this to be a little bit different from obstacles. In this case, I'm thinking of restrictions as something internal that you're placing on yourself, and you need to get out of your own way. And this is a good card that addresses that. Sometimes you just have to cut the cord. You've done all you can, and if it's not for your highest good, if the person, place, thing, situation, memory, whatever, isn't serving you, then cut the cord. You can do it kindly, but do it. Be vulnerable. I love this image. I think this is one of the hardest things for people to do, but if they remain closed off, I think they don't experience everything that life has to offer, and being vulnerable is actually a strength, not a weakness. Loss. Be spontaneous. I think with balance. You don't want to be too off the Richter scale on that. Focus. I think focus is extremely important. I think these days we're living in a world that embraces multitasking, but I tend to find that when you spread yourself too thin, you get nothing done. So I would like to see us go back to more of focus. Set your intention. Feed your soul. I think sometimes you have to shut the door in the outside world and do whatever feeds your soul. For me, that's creating art. Loosen up. Don't take yourself so seriously. Disintegrate. Sometimes things can seem fine on the surface, on the outside world, but internally it's chipping, it's decaying, it's falling apart, and this card addresses that. And sometimes, no matter how much you want to know, you ask, you plead, you beg, you demand, it's just not the right time to know, and that's okay. Hard lesson, but that's okay. Warrior. I chose her as a warrior because, well, look at her. She's magnificent. She's confident. She's stunning. She's proud. She's dignified. She's all of the things to me that embodies a warrior. And I could have gone with the traditional male for a warrior, and I have nothing against men or males in general. But since it was my deck, I decided to go with her as a warrior. Detox. I love this one. Yes. Yes, with open hands, open hearts, open mind. Pretty self-explanatory. No. Be authentic. I think the world is filled with sheeple, with people who are just following the crowd, but there's only one of you, and I think the world needs you and everything you have to offer and everything you bring to the world. So be authentic, be you, embrace it. Set your intention. I don't think it's enough to just say you want to manifest something. I think you have to start with your intention. And if you want to take it out of abstract goals, then you want to state it. You want to state it. You want to believe it. You want to announce it. It kind of shows the world, God, whomever you believe in, the universe, that you're serious about that. And then after you've set your intention, then you need to manifest it. And I maybe I'm not with the majority of people. I don't think you can just state it and then move on. I think you have to put some elbow grease in it. Otherwise, it's just a wish. So if you want to manifest something, you need to do some work and give it some attention. Mentors. Elephants came immediately to mind when I thought of mentors. They are magnificent creatures. They are family oriented. They collaborate with their herd. They protect the young. They have emotional intelligence and they feel deeply. And they're intelligent creatures and they're wise. And I think they have some incredible qualities that embodies mentors. And I think we could learn a lot from them. Clear your mind, get rid of all that crap that doesn't mean anything, but we allowed it to take up space. Abundance, and abundance could be financial, or it could be just what fills your soul. And finally, confidence. Peacock's pretty confident, so there you go. So anyway, those were probably about half the deck, and I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I certainly didn't think I was going to go on this long. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. I will put links to everything I used in below. And I just want to wish you all a wonderful day. I wish you a ton of aloha and blessed be. Have a good evening.